All right, everybody. Well, we're back on the blog this week with one of my favorite people in this world, DiAnn Mills. Hi, DiAnn.
Hi, thank you.
So glad to have you back on the blog. And normally I have the authors introduce themselves, but I'm going to introduce you today because I feel like when you introduce yourself, a lot of times you don't really tell us the good things that people want to know, all the awards and things like that. It's hard for an author to share about themselves. So I'm going to do that for you today. So, reading from your bio, DiAnn Mills is a best-selling author who believes her readers should expect an adventure. She weaves memorable characters with unpredictable plots to create action-packed, suspense-filled novels. DiAnn believes every breath of life is someone's story. So why not capture those moments and create a thrilling adventure? That sounds amazing. I love that. Her titles have appeared on the CBA and ECPA bestseller lists. She's won 2 Christie Awards, Golden Scroll Awards, has been finalist for the Rita Daphne Maurier. All right, how do you say that?
Oh, you're doing a wonderful job. I
Okay.
would butcher it.
Daphne du Maurier, I think. Inspirational Reader's Choice and Carol Award contest. DiAnn is a founding board member of the American Christian Fiction Writers, a member of Advanced Writers and Speakers Association, Mystery Writers of America, and International Thriller Writers. She speaks to various groups and teaches writing workshops around the country. DiAnn and her husband live in sunny Houston, Texas. She's active online and would love to connect with readers. You can find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Goodreads, BookBub, YouTube, LinkedIn, and on her website, DiAnnMills.com. You've had so much experience, DiAnn, a wealth of knowledge to impart to people. So I'm thrilled to have you today. And so we're going to start out going all the way back to the beginning of your life.
That's a long time ago.
when you were a child. Let's talk a little bit about what did DiAnn want to be?
Well, at first I thought I wanted to be a nurse. And then I soon realized, oh, I can't handle the sight of blood. So then
It doesn't work well, right?
yeah. Then I thought, oh, I want to be an actress or a singer. And then I thought, yeah, I got to have a little more talent than what I have. And then when I was about a freshman in high school, I thought, I want to write.
Hmm.
And granted, I had written since I was in the 2nd grade. Talk about a number 2 lead pencil and a Big Chief notebook pad. I'm not sure why I didn't get it then, but I thought, I want to write for a newspaper, a big newspaper in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed. And I realized that when God was calling me to write, He was calling me to write for Him and to write novels. And that's where it's been ever since.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about getting into that journey. Like, were you out of high school, out of college when you started writing these novels?
Anything I ever wrote, I would write it. And we're not talking about computers, we're talking about paper.
Yes.
And we're talking about typewriters with carriages.
Yeah, I remember those.
Okay. I would destroy them. I was afraid somebody might find them. Back in 96, my husband and I had been married just a couple of years. And he said to me, would you stop telling me that someday you're going to write a novel? Quit your job. I'll give you 1 year to get anything published. And if you don't get paid for it, that's okay. But if you can get it published, you don't ever have to go back to your job. So I said, okay, I will. And I did. I wrote a novel. I sold it. It came out in 98. And I also that year, I wrote devotionals. I wrote a short story that sold. I didn't realize that it should have been years and years and years before any of those blessings happened. So I guess if I didn't listen to God like I should have, my husband did.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Well,
it's,
I was getting ready to say in 2 years, I mean, that's pretty incredible. Like I've been at this for almost 5 years now, and I'm like, this is going to take longer than I thought to get published.
I don't take what happened to me lightly at all. And that's why so much of me has to be encouraging to other writers, whether
Mm,
they've written 50, 100 books, or they're just getting started. We all need that encouragement. We all need that. You can do this. If God's in it, you can do it. You've got to learn the craft. You have to write. You have to read. All those things that you need to do. That I really feel that my writing ministry is balanced between writing the novels and helping serious writers.
mm,
I've always believed that whatever I learn, no matter how small, if it's something a serious writer can use, then I'm going to pass it on.
mm. Well, you definitely are an encourager to writers. I'll say that. Every encounter I've ever had with you, every conversation we've had, you are an encouragement. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about your genre, uh, the genre that you write, and maybe what inspired you to choose that particular one.
Well, I believe, well, I didn't start out writing romantic suspense. I started out writing historical romance and contemporary romance, but my heart was in the suspense. We live in a dangerous and an unpredictable world. We never know what's happening one moment to the next.
Amen
And
to that.
there are many people who are frightened to step outside their front doors.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to write, number one, about the brave and courageous men and women who are willing to put their lives on the line to keep us safe and protected. I also wanted to show how many of those brave and courageous people rely on God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just married the two
Mm-hmm.
and added a thread of romance because that's always unexpected and it's a gift. And I love that genre. I love the whole suspense of the romance and the whole suspense of a crime that needs to be solved or someone needs protected. It just thrills me.
Yeah. Now, years past before you started writing this romantic suspense, did you really enjoy watching television shows or movies that were suspenseful or had mystery?
Well, I still can't handle the sight of blood on the screen. uh, but I enjoyed trying to figure out way ahead of the actors and actresses who did it and why, the motivation. So the psychological aspect of it has always interested me,
Mm,
but I would get frustrated if it was predictable, if it was easy to figure out right from the start. I didn't want that. I wanted to be challenged. So I took that part of me and put it into the writing. I am a seat of the pants writer. I am not married to my outline.
mhm.
I'm sure, well, I know my editors wish that I was, but I'm not. And so I deliberately write myself into a corner. And if it takes me a week or 2 weeks to figure how to get out of it, then I figure, okay, I know I'm not really smart, but if it takes me a while, then perhaps my readers will find it exciting and not able to figure it out easily too.
Yeah. I've always loved suspense mystery. Like when I was a kid, I loved the Nancy Drew mysteries. I've always loved watching the shows on TV, Murder She Wrote, and some of those old,
Mhm.
you know, mystery type stories. And I think, maybe one day I'll try my hand at writing a suspense book. I don't know, because there's so many intricacies, that have to be woven into that, and to try to keep the readers guessing and, not figuring things out. I'm not sure I could do that. So I'm
Well,
sticking to women's fiction for right now, more what I know. So,
and we need that. I'm going to tell you what I love if I've got a moment to watch, an hour of TV programming is BBC.
mm,
And I'll tell you why. And this is for all of you listening and watching. The characters are more like us.
mm,
They look like us, they act like us. I don't find a ton of offensive language.
okay.
And I love the intricate plotting. Who did it?
Mm,
Okay, are they going to get there before I do? Vera. Um, Father Brown, I love. Who doesn't love Father Brown? But Shetland, Father Brown, Vera. I love wow. I
mm.
feel like this person and I could sit down, have a cup of coffee, and we could be friends, and there wouldn't be any intimidation. And I love the way their mind works.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
So,
check those out now because I have not watched those shows. I haven't watched BBC, but yeah, the language and all the stuff that are on most of the shows that come on our television, I just like, no, thank you. I don't
yeah,
want to watch it.
you will like these.
Okay. So speaking kind of along those lines, we are Christian writers and we're putting out Christian books. So how do you go about incorporating Christ and hope and, those kind of spiritual themes in your books without coming off preachy?
Okay. I have to give you a little preface on that. You and I have friends and family and neighbors who would never go to church. They wouldn't go to a Bible study. They may not even come to our homes for fear we might pray or say Jesus.
Yeah.
And so they keep us at arm's length. But we could hand those same people a novel in which one or more of the characters solve their problems and live their lives from a Christian worldview, and they would get it. So I like to say, as not only am I a writer and a Christian writer, but I'm a farmer because I'm planting seeds for the kingdom. So with
Amen.
that said, I want a character, at least one, who looks at life and their destiny, their purpose, their goal from a view of how God wants them to live. So I'm not going to have them sitting in church and giving paragraphs and paragraphs of sermons. I'm not going to invade their prayer life, but I'm going to show you how they live and how it's different. And that's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to beat anyone over the head with the Bible. I
Right.
want to show you how this person's different.
Yeah.
And why.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And that's, we've called that in some of our circles coming in the back door,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's very effective. So let's talk a little bit about your new book that is out now, especially by the time this goes on the blog, the book will be out, Facing the Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the premise of the book and if it was inspired by any true events or personal history in your life.
Well, I will say this. I was on contract to write this book when one of our sons was killed by a car, pedestrian hit and run. So the premise of the book became a young woman experiences. She watches a car hit her brother, and he is killed. And later she learns that target was supposed to be her.
Mm.
So she resigns from the FBI and she's going to face the enemy. Now, my son, I have 4, and 3 are adopted. So another very, very important theme in the book and in my life is the power of adoption.
Mm.
And that is also a thread in the book, as my character, she resigns from the FBI. She takes up a former position as an English professor where she taught creative writing. And she believes that she can work undercover to find her brother's killer and continue as a professor, which she adores.
Mm.
Then one of the students hands in an assignment of a short story that is exactly what happened to her brother, with information that has never before been revealed. That's my storyline.
Mm.
So this, Dina, actually is a healing book, and I can't believe I got all that out without being emotional, because the release of this story sort of brought back a lot of the emotions. But Facing the Enemy was my healing book, and so it was bathed in tears as I worked through my own emotions and then massaged them into Risa's personality as she worked through the journey, the pages, the solving of this crime. Her partner helps her, and that's when they realize there is more to our relationship than working as partners like we've done in the past. So that's my gift of love.
So when you were contracted to write this book, did you have a different storyline in mind for it before your son was killed?
No.
Okay.
Which is very odd. Very I knew that I was having a young woman. I knew that the exact scenario I gave you was what I wanted in the story. I did not know that I was going to lose my own son in the process.
Oh, DiAnn.
I
So
know.
you already had this story envisioned for a hit and run kind of thing? Oh my goodness.
I know. Very, very different. Very strange as how God has things unfold.
Mm.
But I will say, and I've got my journal right here on my desk, that for anyone, journaling not only is your best way to record the good things and the things that are not so good. It's therapeutic. It is a way to honor God, to glorify God. And so when I knew I had to write that story, I picked up, here it is right in front of me, says nothing here. I picked up my journal and I looked at that and I thought, that's exactly what Risa's feeling now, to put it in her personality. So that's what I did.
So you were in the midst of writing this when your son was killed. Did you know?
No. I hadn't started it
You
yet.
hadn't started it. So how long after that did it take before you could actually sit down and write the book?
It's probably a month.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was fresh and it was raw.
Oh man. So I'm sure that a lot of emotion comes out on the page in this book. Do you see that as you've read through it? Do you see
Oh yeah.
any difference in this and some of your other ones?
I think that it took the emotional level of my book, of my writing, a step up. I've always believed in writing emotion. I mean, I teach on it. I thought that I was doing the best job I could ever do in writing raw emotions till I wrote Facing the Enemy. So it sort of set the foundation of, okay, I can't write another book again unless I'm willing to put the stakes into it that I put into that book. And I think, Dina, that brings us to another part of our conversation here, in that writing, whether fiction or nonfiction, is not for the faint-hearted. It can't be. It is a lonely profession because it's just you and God and the laptop, or however you are writing your story. And you've got to face your own emotions, no matter what they are, good or bad, and be able to learn and grow from them, and hopefully to translate things into your story that apply from your own experiences.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I know that the things that I'm writing and working on are from personal experience, things that we've lived through. And I think it does help to really put that emotion on the page. Now, were there scenes that were so hard to write that at some point you thought, I'm not sure I can write this scene the way that it needs to be because of the emotion?
Yes, absolutely.
But you push through and you put them on there.
Yeah, because you cannot not push through. A Christian writer knows that it's not about them. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the reader. And what can you give them? What kind of nugget can you give them that would make their life just a little bit better, or a little bit easier, or give them some kind of insight? And so we push through because that's part of the job. And whether you are a Christian writer writing in the Christian market, or you are a Christian writer with a ministry to the general market, it's still the same. It's still all about the reader.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's serving the reader. It's not about the writer at all. It's how is this going to bless someone else and help them? Yeah. So do you have a favorite quote from the book you'd like to share?
Oh, there were there were some that struck me out as better. Let me think here just a minute. I would say there's a couple. Risa says at one moment, or at one time, and she may have been thinking this and didn't say it audibly, but that a strong woman faces the enemy and walks through fire. And I think that is my favorite.
And you probably felt at times that you were walking through fire, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anything else you would like to share with those watching about the book itself?
There was one scene that was very, very difficult for me to write, and I want to share it. Yes, it was hard at the beginning when her brother was killed, but it was a topic that I think Christians don't really want to talk about, and that's losing it. And there's a scene in which Risa is confronting the young man who wrote the short story that mirrored what happened to her brother, but also had additional information. And he leaves town, so to speak, and she and the hero go after him. And when she finds him for the first time in her life, in talking to a suspect or interviewing someone, she totally loses control. And I think that is something that all of us, no matter where we are in our walk with God, we aren't perfect. And sometimes we just lose it.
Yes.
And I had to think about the person who had, I told you it was a hit and run. How would I confront that person in being this woman of maturity and a Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Would I lose it? I think I would.
Mm.
That's my that what was done was very personal and very hurtful. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the reader to understand we don't have to be perfect. We are imperfect people in an imperfect world. And it was very hard to write because I had to be transparent with how would I have handled that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other parts of the story that were sweet and that were funny. I don't want anyone to think that it's a dark story because it does offer hope. And there are life-changing experiences. And
Yes.
there are moments of laughter and moments of joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's people. It's
Mm-hmm.
life.
Yeah. And life is messy and life is hard
Mhm,
and it hurts. But like you said, there's joy in there too,
mhm,
amidst all of the pain and the struggle.
mhm.
So the curious side of me wants to ask if they caught the person who hit and killed your son.
Actually, several hours later, that person turned themselves in.
Mm,
They have never been in front of a judge yet.
okay. Oh,
And that's what's hard for me.
I was gonna say that is hard stuff right there. Hard to
Forgiveness is
reckon.
one thing. Putting that person out on the street behind the wheel for them to do again when they've never faced what the consequences of what they've done before is hard.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you take that to the Lord on a regular basis.
Yes.
So one last lighthearted question before we move on to what's next for you and we wrap this up. Is there a special drink or snack that you love to indulge in while writing?
Well, I am a black coffee kind of gal, and I'm really OCD, health conscious. I'm disgusting. But I tell you what, if I was to have my druthers, it would be M&Ms sitting in a
Mm.
little bowl with my black cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, there are many times that I wish that I drank coffee, but I've
Oh,
never been a coffee drinker. But I hear so many people talking about it and how much they love it and how, they can't write without it. I'm like, maybe I need to drink some coffee and then maybe that will spark creativity.
it's the caffeine.
Yeah.
It is the caffeine, and I like the taste. And I can't remember the last time I did have an M&M. Well, when you asked me that just now, I thought, oh yeah, a bowl of M&Ms, all different colors, red and green and blue.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe you can indulge in some M&Ms to celebrate your book launch.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds like a very good idea.
Yes. So as we wrap up, tell us what we can look forward to next, even after this book.
Okay, next end of August, 1st of September, there is a book that is right now, it's titled The Outliers. Now, whether that changes or not, I don't know, but it is about a woman negotiator who steps into a pit of unforeseen crimes when she and a reporter aid in the release of undocumented immigrants held hostage by two men. Of course, the setting's Texas, just like all the others. But she and that reporter discover a trail of criminal activities and, in the process, the gift of love
Mm,
But there's so much talk about undocumented immigrants, in our country,
mhm,
and I wanted to show an unbiased story with both sides.
mhm.
And I, I enjoyed it. I like the idea of a negotiator and
Yeah, sounds
take
great.
taking some classes on it. So that one's done. And then I'm working now on another negotiator book. And that's about a woman who is a wilderness survivor expert, uh, and she knows how to live off the grid. And she's going after a little 7-year-old girl who's been kidnapped.
Mm,
And since I'm a seat of the pants writer and I've
yeah,
just gotten started on it, that's all I can tell you.
yeah, that's all you know, right?
All I know.
Well, it sounds like a good start.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. I'm enjoying it, and I'm not ready to eat bugs, but I know how it's done, and just having a good time. Do you know who I mean by Jessie Cribbs? I think that's
No,
where you.
no, I don't think I do.
She's a woman who has taught Mia, our writer, has taught wilderness survival skills to military personnel. And I watched her master class. It was so good. And so I'm kind of patterned my character after her.
Okay.
So I'm not ready to eat bugs. No,
No, no.
no.
Well, this has been so much fun, DiAnn, and I could talk to you for hours and hours about writing and your books and all the things. But I'm sure that the people who are watching have other things they have to do today too. So they have other podcasts and interviews to watch and to listen to as well. So
Oh,
thank you for your time and sharing about your book, Facing the Enemy.
thank you.
Yeah, so I want to
Yeah.
tell everybody, go out and buy the book, write reviews, connect with DiAnn on her website, subscribe to her newsletter, follow her on social media. You will not be sorry. She will be like a friend walking alongside you. So thank
Thank you
you
so much. And those of you watching and listening, I only had to pay her a little to say that.
again. Yeah,
Thank you so much and
she
blessings.
pays me with friendship and talking to a peon writer like me when she's
Oh,
multi-published, award-winning, whatever. It's like she wants to be on my blog. Sweet.
oh, oh. Well, God has a sense of humor if he can take somebody like me and publish a few books.
Yeah, well, I think you're pretty awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks again. I'll see you online, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you at some conferences in the future as well. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.